what areas exist in your mind that we could perhaps work more closely together? What are those areas that we can develop for the future and pay more attention to, so that not only do our partnership and our ties get stronger, but also it's mutually beneficial to all our nations. Where Australia is as a developed first world nation, and where Sri Lanka sits as a nation that is looking towards her potential.
Yes.
Two different places, but how can the two nations come closer? In what areas that we can both reach our goals and achieve our dreams?
It's the perfect and most important question at the moment, Chevaan, and one that I've seen very closely here, having had the immense privilege of meeting your Prime Minister and your President to explore exactly these topics. I've also been meeting with your senior business community, with women's leaders from business and civil society, and your education sector, meeting young people. I'm going to visit many of the projects that Australia has had development assistance in, and to really engage at the community level in the next few days. And the reason it's the right time to ask this question is something I'm sensing being here. To hear the story of where Sri Lanka sits today, it feels to me that you are at both a very important and auspicious time. You've chosen a government, a president and a prime minister who've committed to anti-corruption, to a plan for the future to deal with your economic recovery. And it feels that the nation said yes to that in very large numbers. So a momentum that feels it's on takeoff with a huge sense of optimism. And now it's up to the implementation of those plans and to make sure that that big story that was presented by your president to the Sri Lankan people can now be delivered. And there are many aspects of that where we share a common goal. We share the Indian Ocean. We're a middle power, and even though we have vast resources and a wonderfully strong modern economy and democracy, we also only get to do that if we have strong and enduring partnerships with nations that matter to us and who share values. So we do have shared values, and particularly now with the push against corruption, with making sure that everything is done according to the rules-based system. Australia believes very much in the rules-based system of how our nations should work and the relationship with others around the world should work for us to all prosper. This is the time for us to now invest heavily in that relationship. You've mentioned a few of them. I think us supporting you in your sovereign maritime capability. It's a very important function that you play, and one that Sri Lanka must maintain as a sovereign capability. Our Deputy Prime Minister and Minister for Defence was here very recently, Richard Marles, and in conversations about the things that we can continue to gift this country that help with that maritime security, with migration, with keeping our waters safe and keeping this country safe. That stability in South Asia and across the Indian Ocean matters deeply to Australia. And so that partnership, I think, will just continue to grow. And I see that through my Commander-in-Chief role. I've met with our defence leadership here, our military attaches, who tell me the same thing, that now it has always been strong, but now we're stepping into the modern version of this for your country and for ours. The education links cannot be underestimated. You have 20,000 students at the moment studying in Australia. I'd like to think that whilst they come to Australia, we should be in the business of ensuring that many of them want to come back and bring that and not have a brain drain. You're at a point where you need all of the human capacity, intellectual capacity, and you have such vast resources of human talent often that come to Australia to study. And we have over 47 institutions, educational institutions, who are here in Sri Lanka working with local partners to deliver education. I think we could help you tell the stories of why vocational education is as important as university education. It's a story we've had to deal with in Australia, and to make sure that vocational education is not seen to be the lesser of the two, that to build skills against the criteria of a country's skills demands could be some of the most rewarding and important careers that young Sri Lankans can have. We've just reissued the National Skills Program in Australia, reinvested in our technical and further educational vet sector. There is much we could do together to say, here, you have so many graduates of A and O level education who can't get places in universities and should feel really proud to engage in vocational training and get qualifications that provide them with wonderful skills, but wonderful careers and good money and a sense of absolute achievement. So education is really important. I think we underestimate the power of the cultural ties between us. So many of my friends, my dearest friends who came from Sri Lanka are now Australian citizens, teach us about culture and arts. One of them, Shakti, my dear friend, has written some of the great plays. He now calls himself a Western Sydney writer. But of course, he's a Sri Lankan man of us now with an Australian life. But he's been writing plays that have travelled the world about what it means to be part of a diaspora community in a modern Australia that is trying to find its own way through multiculturalism. And we are a country that really is defined by the last 50 years of multiculturalism, migration and refugee arrivals, combined with our very deep First Nations history. Yeah. And I've been travelling Australia talking about the fact that rather than thinking about that as multiculturalism, think about that as modern Australia. That the picture of a modern Australia is something that we haven't really allowed ourselves to lean into. And it's the people who've come from somewhere else, have had families in Australia, second or third generation Aussies whose families came from somewhere else, which gives us an incredibly global orientation naturally. Our Foreign Minister, Penny Wong, is a good example of that. Many of our foreign diplomats, our diplomats who travel the world, now were not born in Australia, or families were not born in Australia, and yet they are our representatives of our nation, our modern nation, back out in the world. These are great strengths. And Sri Lanka, with almost 200,000 people in the diaspora, teach us as in Australia what that modernity looks like by paying respect to different cultures that we integrate into ours. So there's many things that bind us, but I think we're most interested now in how you and your nation, your leadership, business and the community come together to fulfil that ambition that your president has spoken about, your prime minister works to do, which is utilising the full human capital, working with your partners internationally to build this economy and to have the recovery then lift off. We visited the port. You're one of the most successful ports in the world. You see so much traffic that comes through in a transnational sense. It's a very effective, efficient port. So you service the world from here. And I just see potential wherever I go. You have a deep sense of culture. You offer friendship. There is something about the similarity of our care for one another and care for community that is so evident. These are all things I think we need to keep investing in, and I think together and with other players and actors in the world, in a world that is contested in other parts, we have to remain strong and stable, and I think that's going to increase the level of our partnership and friendship as nations.